As fun as it may be, the key to getting a buttery smooth drivetrain isn't spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on upgrades. All you need is some degreaser, a rag, and some chain lube. 20 bucks and 15 to 30 minutes of your time. Keeping your drivetrain clean and lubed is by far the most important thing to get it running buttery smooth. What's up, I'm Zach. I've been riding fixed gear exclusively for the past 12 years, and I've tried a bunch of different drivetrain setups, a bunch of different chain lubes, and honestly how clean the drivetrain is and what type of lube you're using has the biggest impact by far for how your drivetrain runs. A clean and lubed stock drivetrain will ride smoother than a dirty $1,000 NJS drivetrain. And by the end of this video, you're gonna be a big fan of lube too. I ride fixed gear, so here's how to clean your fixed gear or single speed drivetrain. But the same principles apply to geared bikes. Just be sure to get inside your derailleurs and those little wheels, whatever they're called. I found that microfiber cloths are the best way to clean your drivetrain if you don't want to pressure wash your bike. Microfibers really pick up the dirt and the grime that has accumulated on your drivetrain really well. I've also tried out brushes and that Park Tool chain cleaner tool. This is better. Brushes, in my experience, and the chain cleaner tool have been really messy and kind of ineffective and low-key harder to use than just wiping things down with a microfiber rag. Degreaser is really important because you need to get your chain nice and clean so that the new lube that you put on can actually stick to it. I strongly recommend using bike-specific degreaser that specifically says that it's safe on bike finishes. A lot of other degreasers, while they work and they can be cheaper, can damage your finishes because of how harsh they are. So be sure that your degreaser is safe for your bike's finishes so you're not stripping your purple anno Seguino 75s or something. And if you want to be extra safe, you could skip degreaser and just use dish soap and warm water, and it does just fine. For my regular maintenance, about once a week or once every 2 weeks, or 100 to 200 miles, whichever comes first, I like to keep everything on the bike, degrease the chain, wipe it down, and then put on a layer of tri-flow. Spin the drivetrain around and then wipe off any of the excess. Every 3 to 4 months or so, I will do a deeper clean where I take off all of the drivetrain components. I will break the chain, put it in a little takeout container, shake it up with all this degreaser, and it gets real nasty and gets all the gunk out, and then wipe it off clean. And that way I can also take off my chainring and my cog to make sure that I get every single tooth behind the chainring and the cog and in between every single tooth to make sure that it is utterly clean. Then I'll do the same thing of putting a chain back on, putting on a layer of tri-flow, and spinning it around and wiping off any of the excess. You know the drill. By the way, if you're liking this video so far, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button, because according to my YouTube stats, about 70% of you that are watching this video right now are not subscribed. So hit the subscribe button to watch more fixed gear videos just like this. I've tried a lot of different chain lubes, and tri-flow is by far my favorite. There are some pros and cons with it, like it's a pretty light chain lube, so it's not going to last a ton of miles, but I found that it's really easy to clean and it is the smoothest once it is applied. By the way, all these opinions are my own. I'm not sponsored by tri-flow or any of these other companies that I'm about to mention. The main two different types of chain lube are wet lubes and dry lubes. And tri-flow is a dry lube, meaning that it's meant for drier conditions. I live in California, we don't get a ton of rain. But for a month or two in the winter, I will switch over to muck off wet lube. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of wet lubes because they can be very gunky. They can attract a lot of the road grit, and they're super hard to clean off when you do want to clean your drivetrain. It's like, yeah, it sticks onto the drivetrain and you'll have a well-oiled drivetrain when you're riding out in the rain, but it can get pretty gunky. It's more like muck on in my experience than muck off. And the only reason that I'm using this specific wet lube is because I bought it from my friends at Faith Gear and they had it and it was there and I needed it. But if you're thinking about upgrading your drivetrain components because something is just not smooth enough, I really encourage you to experiment with different chain lubes because it makes a huge difference for how smooth your bike rides. Something that's been helpful for me in keeping my bikes running buttery smooth is that I've learned to actually enjoy cleaning my bikes and lubing up the drivetrain, because it's the #1 most important thing to keep the bike running smoothly and to make riding more fun. And the process of cleaning my bike has become kind of relaxing for me. Only when your drivetrain is clean and lubed will your drivetrain components even matter. And I would say only once you get into the habit of keeping your drivetrain meticulously clean and running smoothly should you even consider upgrading your drivetrain components. This is the #1 most important thing to keeping your bike running buttery smooth. Speaking of keeping my bike smooth, this video is sponsored by Wabi cycles. As a fixed-gear YouTuber, I get to ride pretty much any bike that I want, but I choose to ride Wabi because they're the most fun bikes that I have ever ridden. Simple as that. A lot of times when you guys meet me in person, you ask me, so like, real talk, no camera, no sponsors, what do you actually think about Wabi cycles? And what I say on camera is the same thing that I'll tell you in person. It's the best bike that I've ever ridden. I love my Wabi Special and my Wabi Thunder. And the thing that makes them so fun to ride is that everything is for. If you like this video, be sure to check out this playlist on my guide to getting a buttery smooth fixed gear drivetrain. But only watch that if you've already ridden your bike today, because life is short, but don't make it shorter. So be sure to ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous.